Welcome back to Hollywood on Top. I'm Marta Bloom.
And I'm Brandy Glanville.
Our next guest is at the top of our breakout list. People who are one role away from going from stardom to superstardom. He learned the comedy game in the Upright Citizens Brigade and made his way from the Poconos to a starring role on a big-time show in Hollywood. He's a writer, comedian, producer, and actor, and he's the wisecracking, case-solving, cadaver-cutting pathologist on Fox's hit series, Lethal Weapon. Please welcome Johnathan Fernandez.
Hi, how's it going?
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Ooh, my first one of those.
High five.
Oh, there we go.
Another high five?
Yeah. Cool, I'm down. I'm very
Welcome.
flexible with the greetings.
I've heard.
Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
And to our studio.
Yeah.
So what's
Now,
up?
so you started in the Upright Citizen Brigade.
Yeah.
And, with the likes of Horatio Sands and Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
And they all kind of made their way to SNL, but you kind of went a different direction.
You know what's crazy is that that is the thing that people ask you about the most if they know you do a lot of sketch comedy and improv. They're like, so SNL, right? And pretty much from the beginning, I was like, I don't think I'm into that. I like comedy a ton, and it's one of those things where if I had my choice, I wouldn't do it. Like I would rather, like my wife always wants to watch like comedy movies. I'm like, I don't know, I kind of want to just watch like the most dramatic, depressing thing ever.
Really?
Usually, yeah, just kind of like naturally gravitate toward it. And I think maybe it's just from the oversaturation of comedy in my brain.
Exactly.
Yeah, that I'm thinking about it at all times.
That's your thing, so you want to do the opposite of what you're always doing.
I think so, yeah. I think that's how I kind of like balance things out. So it's nice to do it and then, be able to escape into like the other side of things. Like if I had my choice, I'd rather just be on like a dramedy type show.
Like you're on.
Which is crazy because it's one of those things where like you could talk about it until you're blue in the face and the likelihood of it happening is very close to nil. So when Lethal Weapon came around, I was like, I can't believe that I'm going to be able to be the comic relief in this dramatic show.
You're perfect for it.
Oh, thank you so much. Like
You're the perfect casting.
That's the funniest thing about acting is that you always want to play some crazy character and put on a voice and a British accent or something and wear a wig. But then it's like, but most people are playing some version of themselves.
Your character, Scorsese, was written into the television series. He was not in the original movies, but now has become pivotal in the show. How did that happen?
It was cool to be able to come into that show and not have the pressure that would come with having to, make this character real from a movie that already existed and people really, really love. Me being one of those people, I've seen all the Lethal Weapon movies, especially the first one, 10,000
That had to be like a big
times.
challenge for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, I mean, like it's
It had
just
not been done before.
Well,
right?
actually, for me, it was less pressure just because I was like, I could kind of just figure it out. One thing that we set out to do from the beginning was just to do our own thing. Because the more we try to emulate the movies, that's a big trap that we did not want to spring by any means. So it's nice to be able to just figure out Scorsese at my own pace, especially now in the second season. I always compare it to like a rookie year you would have in NBA or like the NFL or something where it's like the first year is crazy and you're just kind of like trying to learn everything as fast as possible. And then second year, like, I could just focus on being better now. So it's nice to find that groove. Scorsese is more like he's like a more hipster version of me, I think.
But a guard saw him peel out of the parking lot, so I put out a
bolo. Classic Murtaugh. Using old-fashioned grunt work to track down a lead. Just like in my script.
Wait a minute, I'm in your script?
Yeah, you and Riggs. By the book veteran, paired up with a loose cannon with mental issues.
Oh, hey, wait a minute now. In Roger's defense, right, he doesn't have mental issues.
So you have your own show within the show called Lethal Access, where you interview other actors in the series. Damon Wayans and Clayne Crawford are best buddies on the show.
Yeah.
Who are your best buddies?
Honestly, all of them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It makes no sense because like
because they all probably like love you because like you're so funny and cool.
I mean, I hope that's the reason. I don't know. It's unsubstantiated.
You just wrapped an indie film.
Yeah.
And what is the difference working on this big, Hollywood program in comparison to an indie film?
Doing an indie film after I had done a season of Lethal Weapon does feel very different in the sense that there's so much more time to do things. Like at Warner Brothers when we're there, it's like, dude, you have like 2 takes, maybe 3 takes if you're, 3 if you're screwing it up.
The pressure is on.
Yeah, and it's just like, and we got to move. This like the stunts happening. There's like 3 crews going on at the same time. this thing needs to explode now, so you got to make the line happen, and there's so many people around that are just like constantly doing it and like buzzing and buzzing. And my experience on indie films has just been a lot more like relaxed environment, and we have more time to like set up the lights, and you could really like figure out the character work you want to do, and TV's just a lot faster than that.
Now, do you think you would ever do a reality show?
Funny coming from you. In general, I'm pretty private about most things, and it took me a long time to get used to the whole social media aspect of everything, because if like me and my wife and my family were just kind of like, I don't know, we just don't really tell anybody what we're up to. Whatever reality thing you're doing, I'll pop in.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. I've never been a pool boy before. I don't mind being a pool boy.
I think with those muscles, you'd be okay.
I think you can do that part too very well. Johnathan,
yes.
we like to play a game called Pick a Role. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, which of these 4 iconic comedy roles would you like to play? Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura, Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop, Steve Martin in The Jerk, or Tommy Chung in Up in Smoke?
Oh man, it's so tough. That's a really tough question. The first one I gravitate toward is Ace Ventura, because that's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it so much. But I think my actual answer would have to be Beverly Hills Cop. And I think it's because what we were talking about earlier in terms of the drama blend that I like so much.
Absolutely, it's both.
Yeah, like that movie, he's like a goofball. He could play a bunch of different characters within it, but then also there's plenty of moments that are like for real.
Serious.
Yeah, and like he's really trying to like crack this case because his buddy got murdered, like in Detroit or whatever. And I think that's why I like that the most, because the other ones, The Jerk has those moments too, but it's more like you feel sorry for him.
Right.
Yeah, and then when he is dramatic, you feel sorry for him. It's not the same. It's not the same feeling you get. And then Ace Ventura, you don't really get that at all. It's too goofy. So I think Beverly Hills Cop for sure.
Thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure.
I'm Marta Bloom.
And I'm Brandy Glanville.
From What's Hot in Hollywood, from the top of Hollywood, this is Hollywood on Top.